Hello and welcome back. We are here continuing as our KRAKOW run. Last episode was a bit of a struggle bus episode. We did get completely free from Austria, so now we're completely independent, and we are actually a major power now, so we could form a power block if we wanted to. I think we're going to hold off for now. Looks like Austria lost their power block because they actually decayed to a minor power, so if we wanted to, we could actually protectorate them right now for 110 infamy, which isn't what we're going to do, but things are a little bit awkward for Austria. This episode, I think we're going to be looking for spots to go after Prussia, and to that end, I think we're going to start damaging relations with them if we have enough Diplo, which we don't. The truth hurts. But I think we're going to look for spots to go against Prussia here, with the idea that we can, I think, get Russia, or maybe France, or maybe the UK to assist us, and I think when we form a power block, it's going to first give us -30 relations with everyone who has a power block, which is kind of all these big boys, right? We're playing with the big boys now. And we don't want to get this negative relation hit on top of what will happen is the AI tends to get political lobbies, and they will have catalyst events when we do this as well. And so I'm thinking that we can have one of two things. We can be friendly with everyone who owns a power block, because they want us in their power block, I think is the idea, except for Prussia, because we interfered with Prussia already. Or we could have a power block of our own, and I think that before the first war with Prussia, we would prefer to be friendly. I think we're going to build up our military a little bit. We are adding a little bit already. We're trying to add in such a way that we have ourselves set up for a transition to national militia, which I think national militia is probably still meta with the conscripts for the threatening, but we actually do want a relatively large professional army. So I think what we're going to do is, we have a few states here. I think we're going to try and recruit exactly 5 units out of all of these and have a little bit of an army, and then look to get help from either Prussia, France, or Great Britain with an eventual fight against Prussia. So I think that's the idea and what we're going to be focusing on this episode. Other than expanding a little bit more, we're kind of tenuously on major powers, so we do have to worry about decaying. And also, our subjects, regarding the new subject interactions, we really want to be able to reduce autonomy on a lot of these guys, but a lot of them still have increasing or quite high liberty desire, and we can hover over and see what's giving them modifiers. But so, for example, we're just getting -3, and we have good relations with a lot of these guys, which is a huge driver, but they don't have a lot of economic dependence, and we don't have a way higher prestige than a lot of these cats, and so that's why we're having a little bit of trouble. If we hover over kind of the economic activity, or GDP rather, we can see that Moldova and Wallachia, for example, have an enormous amount of GDP relative to our kind of total main state's GDP, because they've been getting 10 free construction on a single state for some time. And so, okay. Something else I wanted to point out is ownership is starting to kick up really, really nicely. We put up a bunch of stuff to be owned by capitalists, and the capitalists are buying it. So I think that we could transition to laissez-faire from now. The thing is that it looks like for the stuff that is owned by the government, half of that ownership, or half of that money, gets put into dividends. The other half goes into reinvestment. The stuff that is going to ownership dividends, half of it is getting annihilated by the government dividends efficiency malice that we have, which is 50% for laissez-faire. So if we were, for interventionism, if we were to swap onto laissez-faire, this would go to 25%, which means 75% of the money would get annihilated. So half of this government dividends would be erased. So 7K money would be erased from the economy if we went to laissez-faire. However, if we did go to laissez-faire, the investment pool is growing. Reinvestment, we're getting 32K in reinvestment. We would get like an additional 20% on top of this from the happy or from the capitalist modifier, because we're not currently getting the happiness modifier. We'd be getting an additional 25% or so. It's only applying to capitalists from laissez-faire, and so the question is which one is more of a free money modifier? And I think we're reaching the point where laissez-faire is more of a free money modifier. I think in the late game, as economies tend to stagnate, it becomes interventionism again, but in the middle game, maybe laissez-faire is best. It also gives us an additional company and the loan interest rate, and so we maybe transitioned to laissez-faire. We really wanted to stay on interventionism when we were a subject of Austria because we didn't want them to be able to buy our buildings, but now that's not a concern. We opened everything to be purchased, and everything is getting picked up, it looks like, more or less. This is kind of one of the few holdouts, but I think we've added some levels here, and we have them available for privatization. So things are moving along. So we have gone through the trouble of recruiting a bunch of admirals and generals until we have found a popular humanitarian. We would also settle for an enlightened royalist or an anarchist, all of which we can roll. You can see these are some of the ones we've been recruiting, and the whole idea is we're looking for a specific ideology and being popular. If we take the military outliner and show, we can see that this is the only intelligentsia guy in the outliner. Trust me, there's no intelligentsia guys lower than this. And so when we exile this nihilist here, which we are going to reform the government to do. I guess we'll put in these guys in order to take out these guys. What's going to happen is he will be replaced by the boyo we have sought out, the humanitarian, which will be giving us ability to pass multiculturalism. Now, to be fair, we don't have freedom of religion, so to some extent, this is not exactly what we want, but we will be able to pass multiculturalism here. It will radicalize a couple boyos. I think that'll be fine. We still have the defensive pacts with Russia and the UK, and this will allow us to get on to accepting more pops. Still not universal pops because we are on freedom of conscience, so we only accept the Catholic group. But after this, we'll get on to total separation, and then we are hoping we can start to get immigration from China, specifically by going the ideological union, and this is a little bit more long-term, and getting these guys off of closed borders, but specifically, we probably can get Han pops once we accept them from the Heavenly Kingdom, assuming there's turmoil, which, let's be real, they probably have turmoil in a lot of their states. Let's take a quick look. Turmoil, yeah, turmoil, yeah, turmoil. And it might be, I'm not sure if it's global turmoil that drives it, or turmoil within your nation, but they probably have enough, so we could probably start getting mass migrations from them, which will be a really big deal for us. And so we are just putting this in now before we go a little bit crazy on Prussia. Having a difficult time trying to find productive wars to gain infamy, to be honest. I think we're just going to be taking Silesia. I think we're just not quite ready for it yet, but maybe we are. It's a little bit difficult. I'm just not sure. See, one of the problems is if we don't get Russia to join specifically, we are in a little bit of a bind. And if we take a look at one of these, we can see that we could go for Conquer State Silesia, and we see that France is really willing to join, but Russia is not all that willing to join. I think that if we don't get Russia, the problem is that France is going to push through here, and then we're going to actually have to defend this front against Prussia. If we get Russia in, it would be much, much better, because with Russia in, we would share the front with Russia, and Russia would be able to, with our help, defeat Prussia pretty soundly, especially if we have a whole bunch of edicts in, which we had slot in to have a bunch of conscripts. Just to be clear, we can conscript up like 150 units. It's not like we have no military at this point, but I don't think it's enough for... I think it'll take too long to conscript up, and maybe... Or what the plan is right now is finish steel frame, go start researching modern nursing, and then natural spread military statistics, and between the luxurious supplies and the field hospitals, I think we can attrition them out much better. And so I think that this is going to be what we do. Not sure. I really wish there was a more productive war. The thing is reduction of autonomy is now works fundamentally different, and it doesn't give you infamy, so we're super not used to playing like this. And so I think we just need to straight up conquer some states. We also don't want to go super high on the infamy because we do want to take Silesia in the Prussia War. So we couldn't hit record before the pop-up went away. However, the Anti-Dutch League formed in our nation for a bit of an interesting situation, which is that they surpassed us in terms of the prestige rankings, and this created a catalyst for them having a negative league towards us, which is super interesting. So now we have this league in with the Anti-Dutch League, and so this is going to give approval, disapproval, this sort of thing. We also have a little bit of a rev brewing, which is kind of spooky. Really, I was hoping we were beyond this. But the problem, it's just so disgusting how every single time we rev, it just like super bricks everything because everything loses market access. And so it's really, really, really uncomfortable. We're really trying to avoid revving at this point. And we've revved several times. And when you rev several times, it generally like decreases kind of the chance of you revving again. And so what we could do is we could actually just try and go total separation first. The problem is this is going to rev just the same. We could try and... We can't exile this traditionalist. The traditionalist is the bit of the problem because we don't have our exile cooldown. He is on the older side. We could just try and wait him out, but we still want to try and pass useful laws, and so it puts us in a bit of a weird spot where we need to like try and push some of these laws through, because so much of our law passing got bricked by Austria just keeping on resetting us, but I'm not sure exactly what the play is here. I mean, we could just rev. We could, right now what we're doing is we're suppressing the Catholic Church, and we could try and go through this, but the problem, we also aren't very legitimate. We're not very legitimate because we can't put the president in charge, and we can't have this guy step down either. I don't know why, because we don't have an heir. Okay, that's why. But I think we also don't have the cooldown, but like having to have the religious monarch is actually incredibly annoying because it's making it so that we really can't make a single government that's like above 50 legitimacy when combined with census suffrage. I guess maybe we could try and move on to a different voting system. I mean, maybe we can go universal suffrage to try and get more clout to some people who are a little bit better and go that first before multiculturalism. We also have the trade union guy for multiculturalism. I guess maybe I like that. The problem is also we don't know how easily we can squeak it by, but I think that maybe it's a little bit better, so we'll try and do it. So in order to get this in, we're going to need the trade unionists and government. See, this is also a problem. Like, we're going to have to figure out a legitimate government with the trade unionists in, which is entirely, it's super difficult. Is there just, I bet there's just not one, huh? There's just not one. We kind of cancel that for no reason then. The Conservative Party, oh, okay, they can't be being suppressed, fair. But if we do this, will we be legitimate enough to pass a law, maybe? Nope, can't do it, can't be done, won't be done. Is there just no way of doing this? Man. Our political situation is really uber trash. Well, it looks like Austria's continued trouble might be incredibly good for us. We're going to go for a bit of a yo-yo sway here. I don't think we're going to go for diplomatic pacts or anything like this. I think we're just going to try and make them our subject. We're going to see who has the closer value. Looks like just regular Austria has 40, and I think that when we check these guys, I think they were like in the 70s. So what we can do is we can side with one side and then sway back to the other. But the flip side is we'd rather have, I think, we'd rather have these sort of laws in place. Well, these guys have migration controls. That's kind of one of the ones we're looking for. And regular Austria has migration controls as well, but they have monarchy, oligarchy, and we kind of prefer the radical one, we think. A little bit of a tricky situation. What we've done in order to have as many conscripts as we were kind of showing off earlier is we have edicts in these 3 states for enlistment efforts, which gives us 5% conscription rate, which allows us to, have, what is this, 140 conscripts-ish. With either side, we're going to have to fight this out, but I think that we're going to try and see if we can get it on this side, so we're going to offer support, ask for become subject, ask for become protectorate, and then what we do is before we unpause, we join this side, and then they accept, seeing that there's this massive military difference, and we get radical Austria as a subject, which of course will annex regular Austria when the time comes. We do have a little bit of a war with Benin, which now we're kind of wishing that we didn't have, but there's nothing too crazy in it. We could put war reparations on Spain. Spanish war reparations would be nice. It's been kind of a little bit annoying that they've been joining some plays against us, but that's overall probably okay. We're just looking for wars to get our infamy. To be honest, we should have just taken Benin. We are having a chronic convoy problem, and so protectorating Benin doesn't really help out very much. We should have just conquered Benin. I think that maybe for that sort of way of thinking about things, we might conquer Attica, because they do have a really good tooling company. It's relatively close to what we got going on, and maybe that makes a lot of sense. But it is looking like we're just going to get Prussia we're going to get Austria as a subject for here. Oh, how the turns table. Krakow subjugating Austria. So we pull off another cheeky sway here on Brazil, and this one's really disgusting because Brazil hasn't even been kicked down at all. I guess they've been kicked down a little bit. They're a minor power, so they have been actually struggling a little bit with wars. I think they just got humiliated, and this is why they're minor. But they started this offensive war against Peru, Bolivia here, and we yo-yo swayed into it. And not only are we going to get Brazil as a subject here, we're going to get Brazil that owns La Paz, that owns the Amazonias, that owns Santa Cruz, that owns this little snippet, and will maybe own Potosi, depending on if they back down or not. They're very unlikely to back down with so many primary war goals, but this is a huge boon to us. But here's the problem. That's the kicker, is the convoys are starting to get really, really rough, so we might have to start giving some more and more countries their own free market, which is maybe not preferable. But to be honest, Brazil might be siphoning off, pops from our market anyways, and so denying them our market in order to keep their population down is maybe useful. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be trying to build even more ports. We added some in North Borneo. We're just going to max them out in North Borneo. We're going to put a couple more here and here. We are having labor problems overall, but this is just like growing pains because, I mean, we're throttling up really, really fast now, given the state of things. Manchuria is requesting their own market. I think we're okay giving Manchuria their own market here because, one, we want them to decrease their liberty desire. This is a subject we want to annex anyways. And two, it's going to cost more convoys to ship stuff to Manchuria than any other. And the reason they're asking right now is because their market is isolated during this rev right now. But I think that for them to stuff to get shipped to them anyways is going to be quite a few. So I think we're okay with giving that up. Bavaria just gets enforced upon here, and Austria is about to be enforced on, and is now Radical Austria, aka the Krakow subject everyone knows and loves. Everyone remembers when Krakow subjugated Austria, right? 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 Alright, so we've been keeping an eye on how close people are to joining in on our side here. In particular, looking for people that are, around or below -50, that we could maybe offer them something to get them to join. France wants Rhineland, so this is what they're on about. It looks like Russia is pretty willing to join on our side if we could maybe sway something in the direction. They have an antagonistic attitude towards Prussia, and so I think we're going to try and go for this now, which means that we do have to make some adjustments kind of right off the fly, is that we're going to have to get rid of these things, get rid of these consumption taxes, and once again juggle these decrees back. It's really hard to overemphasize just how much military power these decrees are effectively getting us, because look at our level of conscripts right now, 25, 15, 6, and then once we come in, it's just going to be basically 150, and this is a huge source of power if you can kind of manage this sort of thing. I think we're gonna start conscripting immediately. That way we have as many going into the war. I think that we can afford to do some of this stuff, but we're probably going to delete a little bit of construction here at the outset, which is nice because we just finished steel frame construction, so we can delete down several construction buildings. Our conscripts are already raised, so they should just auto-recruit up, because we didn't dismiss this army because we knew that generally kind of been a little bit more total war-y on this patch, and so dismissing armies is a huge investment because it locks them up for 90 days, but we're going to do this. They're going to say no to the Silesia thing. We get an anti-Prussian league, but here we see swayable is not only, looks like Austria's swayable too. We would very much like to refeed them their territory, so we're hoping that that's what they want to sway in for, which is going to be fantastic. They will be able to help us out quite a bit. We see that France is swayable and Russia is swayable, so this looks like our shot here. So here is what the war is going to look like. Conquer Silesia, return Rhineland, return Bohemia, liberate Danzig, which we made primary. We don't want them backing down, and Danzig is the most important one because it is the Polish one. We also have liberate Pomerania. Between Pomerania and Danzig, that will cut them off from the coast, so this will be absolutely crippling for Prussia, and it's looking pretty good. Also, Austria being in on this is just so beautiful for us because this actually this eliminates one of our major concerns because it allows French troops to come on through. See, the French troops could not come on through Moldavia and come to our front in terms of the game mechanics, but they can come through Austria when Austria is in on this play, and so this is going to be absolutely gorgeous for us in terms of being able to actually do something here. And so we might not even need the level of conscription we have, but I think we're just going to go with it because we do want to make sure we enforce. This is going to be really expensive. It's going to be quite uncomfortable. I think we're going to let the queue kind of idle and try and let the credit or the investment pool take over a little, but the investment pool is not very built up as we're building up ports and this sort of thing. We're not acquiring any ports in this war, but this is going to be such an important war because it's releasing, or we're getting, in terms of getting to the goal of getting to the forming Poland, right? We're both liberating Danzig and we're releasing this country over here, which is going to be there's Posen is all that's left in kind of the North German. Wait, did they form North German Fed while we? Okay, no, they're still Prussia. We do get a couple of wars. We could play defense. We will switch to, if we're not winning these pushes, we'll switch to defense for at least the kind of beginning opening salvo. And maybe we should do that because we have a lot of conscription coming up. I think we'll just, switch to defense on everyone who is not an expert offensive planner, for example. Or if we have someone who is cautious advance would maybe be okay. Heavy artillery would be okay. So we'll just push with one. We'll put our war goal in on their capital, but this looks fantastic for us. And Silesia, for those of you who don't know, is absolutely one of the most valuable states in the entire game. It has an enormous amount of resources. In terms of population, it's got 2 million pop, but we could crank that up. It also, if I'm not mistaken, does have a decent amount of Poles in it, which is, of course, why we're liberating it from the, Germans who took it from us. And so really starting to look pretty good. And then I think we will get an event to annex Danzig as well, which is going to be really useful from the perspective of, hey, we have basically 0 ports, please help us. So this is very dramatic as well. We transferred in to become subject on Shaanxi, and then we see immediately after Russia is transferring or is looking to support the aristocratic revolt that we were supporting Shaanxi against in exchange for transfer Shenzhen, which is kind of unfortunate because that state is a coastal one, but we have a market in Manchuria. Oh, we don't have market access in Manchuria. Okay, so we'll have to either deny Manchuria their own market at some point, or we'll have to annex them or something like this. Okay, well, that's a little bit annoying because they're not going to have access to the sea anymore after Shenzhen gets enforced. Actually, I'm not sure if we win the war, how that shakes out, but we're not going to have to fight Russia in just a second here. Somehow. We could always just unassign from this front as we start to actually push in and win here. We could also just not support this anymore. We could just say, you know what? It's not worth it because there's no war goals on us. But we do want Shaanxi for freezies, good dealsies. So this is a little bit of a pickle. A little bit of a pickle. Okay, so we do win the war against Prussia. Also, Danzig only getting released as a partial state was not exactly what I was expecting. I think we would have just taken the state off of them had we known it was going to work like that. But okay, fair enough. We do get Silesia, so we got the crown jewel. It's not a big deal. And also, Prussia's looking really long. Krakow's getting really long. Austria's really long. It's just a bunch of long states here. Why the long face, though? I don't think there's a reasonable way in which we can win this here. In terms of, I think it's impossible for us to avoid getting Shaanxi enforced on here. And so we could capitulate out of this. I think Shaanxi is getting annexed anyways by the aristocratic revolt. Russia's getting their grubby hands on Shenzhen. And I think we're just going to capitulate. Also, we will not get as much ticking negative relations with Russia. Although our relations with Russia are probably really bad at this point because, or I guess they're still amicable, but our trade agreement got nuked, our defensive pact got nuked. I think they shouldn't have been able to even join a play against us anyways, if we have a defensive pact, but fair enough, it was one Shaanxi against another. And so our defensive pact with them is also over, and also we need to be thinking about fighting them now, and looky at this. they are enemies with literally everyone, so it shouldn't be too hard to get support, much like how we got France's support in the war against Prussia. It shouldn't be too hard to get some sort of support against Russia, especially from the UK as part of the Great Game, so I think we'll be in good shape for doing stuff against Russia. It's unfortunate, though, and this is probably, if I was playing a little bit better, a little bit tighter, I think we would have just capitulated before the aristocratic revolt had popped, because I think it would have ended up being quite a bit better for us, because we wouldn't have this truce with Russia now. So now we have a truce with Russia, we have a truce with Prussia, and we have no other natural enemies, so I think we're in pretty good shape. And it might be time to block it up. I think we'll take some time to allow relations to improve, because we accrued some infamy up to plus 80 with both France and the UK. Ooh, France is a little bit lower, but we do have a defense pact with France, because we're going to get minus 30 relations, and so I think we want them at least at 80 before we form the power block. I think that'll help us not get these guys turning against us, which is kind of what we want. We want to fight Prussia and Russia now. We don't want to fight France and the UK. We're still not, like, exactly strong, and so, okay. We'll also get rid of our decrees that we were using very temporarily. These enlistment effort decrees. They've been nice, but thank you. But we won't be needing you anymore, which is going to be useful. And then we'll move these guys over here to actually help us win this Peru-Bolivia war that's been kind of going on in the background. Now, we can form the Confederation of the Rhine. I don't even know who our multiple subjects are, though, other than Austria. Is it Austria? Who's even the subjects here? 4 states? Who all is in there? I don't know who we have as subjects other than Austria that is in the Confederation of the Rhine, so color me a little bit confused. So I guess, who else is in there? I mean, I understand Austria. Would it just be a singular Austria Confederation of the Rhine? I didn't think that it was possible to confed them in that way. I think we'll hold off on confeding, because we want to annex Moldavia and Wallachia, and maybe if the Confed absorbs them, maybe that's going to be a little bit of a problem. Or if it gives away Silesia, that'd be even worse. Actually, it might give away Silesia. Yeah, we don't want that. So taking a closer look at Austria here, we're going to look at the companies they have, because this influences their construction bonus. And we see that they have the sulfur and coal company, which we don't have. And they also have the other, the tooling company, which, okay, we have the tooling company. But what we can do is we can come in and we can start really cranking up a lot of coal in their country, which is going to help us to lower their liberty desires so that we can eventually annex them. And this is going to be useful. We're going to do this in a couple spots to increase the coal. We're also going to take a look at Moldova. I really kind of want to start integrating some of these guys here overall. So for Moldova, we just need to go to the country and see, hey, what's going on? They have grain and they have wood. So if we can buy any more wood, which we can't, we would want to do that. Maybe we add a few of these, which is not going to be too tremendously useful, but okay. For Wallachia, we'll just come in and we'll see that they are also forestry and also metalworks, so tooling and forestry. I think they've probably, yeah, they have all the logging camps kind of already output, but what we could do is we can add a couple of tooling workshops in there as well, knowing that they'll have a little bit of extra construction and trying to squeeze our way into their nation in terms of lowering their liberty desire. Currently, everyone has really high liberty desire. We really want to start annexing these guys, reducing autonomy on these guys, and it's a little bit rough. Transvaal is also going to be a nice one. They've been having significant rev problems. I wonder if they just actually don't have access. Well, they have poor access to the market, so this is a second problem because we have bad convoys, and this is actually negatively influencing liberty desire as well. So I think we gotta stop expanding. But for Transvaal, and that's not the Transvaali Liberal Revolt, we will see that for their companies, they do have agriculture here, and they have, okay, so they have stuff for tea. I guess we'll just put in a smattering of tea, kind of, and own that. We don't really have that much of a supply of tea, and so hopefully this will be maybe a little bit productive, but also give us control over their ownership. I thought we had built some of these. You know what, how I think it works is, if they rev, I think it nukes the ownership. Are these owned by us? These are foreign owned. Yeah, I think when rev happens, the rev takes over all the buildings, which makes a foreign investment a little bit worse than it otherwise would be, but I think it's still probably fine enough. I'm not sure if this is intended or not, but the Rev taking over the building. So, for example, if Austria has a revolution and we have 5 coal mines here, we lose the ownership of the coal mines when the Rev happens. But we still have a subject that has 5 coal mines built up, so it's not like a complete wash. It's just not exactly what we want. So I think now that we've kind of decayed to, grown to plus 80 with France and Great Britain, we're at friendly relations. I think we're going to conclude this episode here. Pretty productive one in that we managed to fight Prussia for the first time, releasing Pomerania and Danzig. We were thinking that this was going to cut off their ocean access, but they still have a big chunk of Danzig, so that's not ideal for us, but okay. What is ideal for us is we got some huge subjects from reverse Suez, or we got Austria and Brazil, and this is an uber caked up Brazil, but of course problems are happening in Brazil, like our guy unassigning from the front, which we hate. I guess he's assigning to that front. It's maybe okay. We're trying to fight the fallout of them joining our thing and then not having enough market access. This does seem to really be kind of our main problem here right now, is the lack of market access. So I think what we're going to be doing next episode is we are going to be making a power block, and then probably our very second principle is just going to be something to try and give us more market access, or more so maybe we even do just something that is giving us more convoys, something as simple as internal trade, although we can't do internal trade if we're going to do the ideology block, which is what we want to do. We could do the other one, and I think it'll give us a little bit of convoys, or give them more convoy contribution. We are getting 906 from our contribution from all these guys, and so if we got 10% more contribution, that would, I'm not sure if it works additively or multiplicatively. If it's additively, that would represent kind of a big chunk of additional convoys. We're still building more ports, really kind of, we're in this weird spot here where we're like simultaneously like pretty weak, but in a really, really good position. We have a lot of subjects that honestly, their combined power is considerably more than ours, but we're in a spot where we have enormous potential for growth, but we're like simultaneously we have like 30 stack army total, and we're not on peasant militia, so a little bit of and we're definitely trying to play off of the GPs more than anything. And so if these guys hate us, if we form a block, that's going to be really bad, because we can't afford, like, we can't defend ourselves against a GP 1v1. So kind of a weird sort of run the way things are going so far. But I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, do the YouTube algorithm thing, and other than that, have a good day.